Everybody, this is Julissa. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming back to my channel. Thank you so much to everybody who's listening right now in the podcast. Today is Saturday, April the 4th, 2026. I'm here to speak about the missing. This person went missing when she was just 13 years old and she was just found alive and safe 32 years after later. And it's just so crazy, guys, that we're living to get to see resolve cases like this. It's so interesting. As far as we know, it's very heartbreaking for somebody to go missing. It's heartbreaking for the families, for the community, and especially when there's no answer, not knowing where your loved one is for so many years, and not even thinking that you can trust the people around you, right? Especially if we hear the cases about children that disappear just on their way to school as they're walking to school. So it's very tragic when families go through something like that, right? I cannot imagine, but more often in the past couple of months, I guess you can say, we are seeing more and more cold cases being resolved involving people who have been missing for so many years. So I'm going to speak to you guys about that. Before I continue, I want to say thank you so much, everybody, for listening to the podcast using Spotify. I know I haven't been making episodes lately. I had to deal with something in my personal life, but here I am again making another episode. So thank you guys so much for following JulissaDesigns podcast on Spotify. Every time I make a new episode, if you follow the podcast, you will get a notification, and it also helps me as the creator. And thank you guys so much, everybody who is watching the videos on YouTube and subscribing. Thank you guys for doing that. And if you ever want to learn more about me, you can just visit the main website that I always put on all of my videos, which is JulissaDesigns.com. And if you also want to check out Julissa Designs collection, you can just visit JulissaDesigns.com or JulissaDesigns.shop. Okay, guys. So, like I said, great news. Restoration Sunday is tomorrow, and it's just amazing to me to see how cold cases, like I said earlier, are being resolved. That is amazing. And this case took 32 years for a family to know the answer about this. So imagine something like that. So let me read to you briefly. A woman in Arizona who went missing 32 years ago when she was just 13 years old has been found alive, authorities said this weekend. And her name is Christina Plante, who was reported missing in May 1994 from Star Valley, Arizona, after she vanished without a trace from her community, according to a statement released on Wednesday by the sheriff's office. And investigators said that she was last seen leaving her home on foot to go to the stable where her horse was and was not seen again. At the time of her disappearance, prompted an intensive research search involving local law enforcement, volunteers, and regional resources. But despite the exhaustive ground searches, interviews, and investigators' follow-up, no viable leads were developed. And like I said, just one day she's just gone. A 13-year-old girl going to see her horse and just disappear, right? And it's just so sad. I cannot imagine a family going through something like this, right? Plante was entering into a national missing children database, and missing persons flyers were distributed locally, statewide, and across the country. Over the years, the sheriff's office said that the investigators continued periodically to revisit the case, re-examining evidence and pursuing new information as it became available. Yet the sheriff's office said that the creation of its cold case unit marked a renewed commitment to unresolved investigations, and that utilizing advances in technology, modern investigative techniques, and detailed case review, detectives developed new leads that ultimately led them to a breakthrough. That is amazing. I mean, some people just hate technology, Some people see something complete negative when it comes to technology, but when you see a cold case being resolved, when you see people being, having a better way of life when it comes to like when they do the prosthetic legs and they do like a hearing aid so that people can hear better, you have to find this kind of like appreciation for new technology. And just as the days go by, right, as the year go by, to learn more and more of what's actually making a breakthrough out there. So let me just read exactly how did that came to be. Now, 32 years after her disappearance, the sheriff's office announced on Wednesday that Plante has been located alive. Investigators said that they have confirmed her identity and that her status as a missing person has been officially been resolved. Amazing. The sheriff's office added that our respect for Christina's privacy and her well-being, additional details will not be released at this time. So, yeah, interesting about that. And the reason that I say that is because when a child goes missing, a person goes missing, there's so many people involved. People, the public is involved, right? They share the news. People, will put out flyers, will join the volunteer team. And now with this, technology, bloggers and YouTubers like myself, we go out there and we speak about cases, especially when somebody's missing. And then when there is an answer, it's kind of like, we understand. It's so weird. It's like we understand that there's a need for privacy, but so many people got involved, right? Um, so many people dedicated so much time to finding her, and now that we have a resolution, I guess you can say, a resolved cold case, it's like we don't want to share nothing with the public, just to let you know that she's good and that's it. And like I said, we can understand it, but it's kind of like at least let us know, like, we don't want like details, but like let us know how did she disappear. Was she lured by a neighbor? Was she, was there somebody watching her and waited for an opportunity for the 13-year-old to be alone or something like this? That's the type of information that will be helpful, in my opinion. Let me see here. Continue to read. The county sheriff's office remain committed to pursuing all unresolved cases and encourage anyone with information regarding all other cold cases to reach out. So that's basically all they're saying. I also wanted to know like what is her family saying, right? I used to watch American Most Wanted years ago when it was still on TV, and you will hear stories about families. And let's just say like the three girls that were missing, with Ariel Castro, I think that was the name of the guy who took them for 10 years. He had them inside their home for 10 years in the neighborhood, putting out flyers, even himself, going to vigils and all of that. And, you know, to when they were found, right? Thanks be to God, they were rescued. We were able to at least hear from them, after their time of privacy, to hear from them, like how did that came to be, and to hear the stories and how good it felt for them to see their family, even hearing their family speaking about being reunited again with their loved one. I think that's just, I think that's great, at least for the public to be aware of, especially when you're so involved to the point that you're praying for these people that you don't even know. Like I said, I do respect their privacy, but just a little more, information. Like, oh my goodness, the mom was beyond words to learn that her child was found 32 years after. And because there's a lot of people, that's why I love when cold cases are being resolved. There's a lot of people, when somebody goes missing in their family, it comes to a time of grief, and then you hear the people say to them, you have to let them go. And then they go with the statistics. Usually if somebody goes missing in this type of setting, they barely make it alive. That's just, I'm just being 100% real, because I know when it comes to like the police work, I guess you can say, usually they'll say, the statistic is in cases like this is usually the turnout for people who go missing like this, right? But it's just amazing to see how, you know suddenly they have a new case, a new unit for cold cases, and people have fresh eyes looking through evidence, and now they're able to find the people, right? And I wonder, in this case, like I said, they're not sharing that much, not at all. I'm very surprised. Like, who was her captor? Did she voluntarily disappear? I don't think this is the case here. 13-year-old doing that, and not like reaching out for 32 years, making the decision like that at 13 and not reaching out at all for 32 years. That's very, unusual. So I wonder who was involved in this case, who uh in her, proximity was this person who took her. So I'm glad that she was found alive. What a great news for that family. I think that's amazing. But, a little bit more information would have been also good to hear about. But let me just see here. Is this here? I think when cases like this get resolved, definitely gives a lot more hope to people who are still waiting. Here in Connecticut, I learned about this case. I didn't make a video, but I learned about this case of a mom, uh, of a young girl. I don't know how, maybe she was 6 years old. She left school in 2001, I think it was that it happened, and they now did a age progression um progression for. I'm trying to search it since I'm speaking already about it, and the mom is still out there trying to find her, and it spent so many years, right? Um, Let me get her name and list. All right, I know she was in the news recently. The mom. Okay, so her name is Bianca LeBron, who vanished at the age of 10 in 2001. And they just did an age progression photo of her. And it's so crazy. I was not even gonna make this video about her, but for some reason here I am speaking about her. So I'm gonna put her photo here so that you guys can take a look. In 2001, she was leaving her school, and it says here that Bianca was last seen getting into a van after telling her friends that she was going to the mall with her uncle, but the girl did not have an uncle. Imagine that. This beautiful young girl, just 10 years old, was lied to and by a van, right? A guy in a van following girls, um, driving around the school, right? So we hope, we pray and hope that Bianca is also found alive and safe. They just kind of like did a refresh, I guess you can say. In this case, they put out the photo, and they did a whole press conference about it. So I'm gonna be putting that photo out there for you guys. Well, missing since 2001. Imagine that, right? Imagine the mom receiving the news and the girl, imagine the mom receiving the news and the friends are saying, "Oh yeah, she left with her uncle," and the mom is like, "She has no uncles." Imagine something like that, right? So yeah, we pray for all these families, right? I'm gonna share her photo, guys, and I'm glad that another girl that was missing at 13 was found 32 years after. That's also amazing news. Thank you guys so much for coming to the channel. Thank you so much, everybody who is listening right now in the podcast. Have a good day. God bless. Hi everybody, this is Julissa. Thank you so much for coming to the YouTube channel. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. And I hope to see you in the next video. Have a good day everybody. God bless.